What if Jesus wasn't speaking in riddles, but in codes? What if his parables weren't just moral lessons, but maps to shift your consciousness? What if salt, light, and the kingdom within weren't symbols of faith, but frequencies? These weren't metaphors. They were instructions, keys to activate dormant forces within you. He wasn't hiding secrets. He was embedding them for those who could decode. And now you will. Stay to the end, because once you see the pattern, you'll never hear his words the same way again. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its flavor, how can it be made salty again? At first glance, it sounds poetic, simple moral guidance. But when decoded through the lens of alchemy, energy, and consciousness, it reveals itself as a precise instruction embedded in metaphor. In ancient times, salt wasn't just flavor, it was sacred. Salt preserved matter from decay. It purified temples. It was a key element in sacred rituals. In alchemy, salt is the crystallized essence of truth, the stabilizer of the structure, the one that prevents disintegration. Biologically, salt is essential to conductivity. No nerve fires, no thought flows, no muscle contracts without it. Salt is what lets electricity move through the body. So when Jesus says, "You are the salt of the earth," he's not complimenting your seasoning. He's identifying your function in the field. You are the stabilizers of coherence in this dimension. Without your alignment, the collective field begins to unravel. And what about losing saltiness? He's not warning against sin. He's pointing to frequency collapse. When a being disconnects from source resonance, it becomes energetically inert, still physically present but vibrationally hollow, unable to anchor light into matter. To lose your salt is to lose your field integrity. You no longer hold the charge needed to influence the collective grid. This isn't metaphor. It's the physics of spiritual responsibility. Jesus wasn't telling you to behave. He was alerting you. You are part of the structure that keeps this realm intact. You're not just a person, you're a frequency node. To be the salt is to be the coherence that holds chaos at bay. So when he said, "You are the salt of the earth," he was embedding a truth only the energetically awakened would understand. You are the crystalline stabilizers of this frequency domain. Lose your coherence, and the whole field wavers. If your eye is single, your whole body will be full of light. At first, it sounds mystical, abstract, even confusing. But Jesus wasn't speaking in riddles, he was encoding field mechanics. The single eye is not about literal vision. In ancient mystical systems, from Kabbalah to Egyptian Hermetics, this referred to the third eye, the inner lens of perception, centered at the pineal gland, often called the seat of the soul. In neurobiology, this tiny gland produces dimethyltryptamine, DMT, a molecule linked to dream states, spiritual visions, and consciousness expansion. In esoteric science, it's the receiver of high-frequency fields, the antenna through which the soul decodes light. To have a single eye means to unify perception, to bring all scattered attention, judgment, and fragmentation into focused coherence. It is the collapse of duality. And what happens when perception becomes coherent? The whole body becomes filled with light. This isn't metaphor. Light is the carrier of information. To be filled with light means that your biology, your energy field, your DNA expression, all begin to vibrate in alignment with the divine frequency. The fragmented mind sees chaos, but the unified eye sees pattern. Jesus is describing what happens when awareness is purified and perception becomes a bridge, not a filter. The single eye collapses the wave. It doesn't distort reality, it reveals it. So when Jesus said this, he wasn't speaking in poetry, he was issuing an activation code. Unify your sight, purify your lens, and you will become the vessel of divine light. The kingdom of God is within you. It sounds gentle, comforting, almost poetic. But behind these 6 words lies one of the boldest spiritual claims in human history. Jesus is not pointing up. He is not pointing forward in time. He is pointing inward to a domain of consciousness encoded in your very design. The original Aramaic phrasing implies more than location. It hints at structure. The kingdom of God is inside your pattern. This is not about religion. This is about frequency access. In modern physics, a field is a space where invisible forces interact. You don't see it, but everything you do, think, feel, believe, shapes it. Jesus is saying, there is a sacred field within you, and when you tune to it, you don't enter heaven later. You enter a state of divine resonance now. In mystic terms, this is the inner temple, a holographic blueprint of the cosmos nested within the human soul. To seek the kingdom outside yourself is to search endlessly, but to recognize it within is to activate the portal. It's not a reward, it's a frequency domain. It responds not to obedience, but to coherence. It doesn't open with belief, it opens with resonance. Jesus is not offering comfort, he's dropping coordinates. Your body is the map, your awareness is the key. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. To most, this sounds like encouragement, a metaphor for doing good. But Jesus wasn't handing out compliments. He was identifying a frequency function. Light is not just illumination, it is information. In physics, light is the carrier of electromagnetic data, waves of order traveling through chaos. So when Jesus calls you the light of the world, he is saying, you are the code bearers. You are the carriers of coherence in a collapsing field. Light doesn't just reveal, it stabilizes. In quantum terms, light collapses possibility into pattern. Wherever light goes, chaos can't remain. It forces a choice. It demands alignment. And this is why light attracts resistance, because it disrupts distortion. To be the light is not to behave. It is to resonate in truth so clearly that falsehood becomes unstable in your presence. The city on a hill metaphor is also layered. A city equals a system of interwoven structures. A hill equals an elevated frequency. Jesus is saying, your coherence will be elevated and therefore seen. You cannot shrink without abandoning the very function I placed in you. To hide your light is to sabotage the field. To dim your resonance is to disconnect from purpose. But here's the paradox. Light doesn't come from effort. It comes from clear circuitry, a clean lens, a coherent field. You don't shine by trying. You shine by being aligned. So when Jesus says, you are the light, he is not giving you an identity. He is revealing your nature, not metaphor, not flattery, physics. Unless one is born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. This isn't theology, it's transmutation. Being born again is not about subscribing to belief. It's about shedding a frequency identity that no longer serves your evolution. In quantum language, every being carries a resonant pattern, a signature field. Over time, that field becomes cluttered with distortions, trauma, false beliefs, inherited density. To see the kingdom requires a lens of coherence, and that means the old lens, the fractured self, must dissolve. Jesus is not demanding morality, he is describing frequency architecture. The rebirth isn't emotional, it's energetic. It's the collapse of the ego matrix, the death of the old waveform, and the emergence of a field that can perceive truth, not through dogma, but through alignment. Being born again is a reset of signal, a restoration of the original template. You can't access higher realms while broadcasting from broken circuits. The kingdom of God is not hidden. It's simply invisible to incoherence. That's why the rebirth is internal, not a ritual, a shift in vibration. It's not about being a better person. It's about becoming a clearer vessel. You don't believe your way into the kingdom. You tune into it. And Jesus, like a master frequency technician, says, unless your field resets, you won't even see the domain I speak of. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Greeks called it logos, but in the quantum field, it's more than speech. It is vibration encoded with intention. Jesus said, "The words I speak are spirit and life." He knew words are waves, each carrying a frequency signature, and when directed with consciousness, they shape reality. This is why he spoke in parables, not to confuse, but to encode structure. Every parable is a multi-layered equation, each metaphor a field blueprint. The seed isn't just a symbol of potential, it is a model of quantum containment. All DNA, energy, and outcome already encoded within. To plant a seed is to transmit form through time. And when Jesus spoke of building on the rock versus sand, he wasn't giving home repair advice. He was revealing architectural law of fields. Build your belief on unstable patterns and the frequency collapses under pressure, but align it with the eternal blueprint, and your field becomes unshakable. Jesus didn't come to make you behave. He came to make you aware, not of religion, of resonance. His parables were never moral puzzles, they were keys. And now, you don't just hear them, you see the code. You've just glimpsed the code behind the parables. Not metaphors, not poetry, but precision tools for awakening. Now imagine what else has been hidden in plain sight. This isn't about belief, it's about resonance, not religion, but remembrance. Start your journey deeper. Watch the full playlist, The Hidden Teachings of Jesus.